Welcome to Mornings with Matt, personal and professional development training that connects the art of acting with critical life skills and self-mastery. Presented by the Deering Acting Studio.
Alrighty, good morning everybody and welcome to Mornings with Matt. I am on today with Miss Elizabeth Lambert. Good morning,
Hello.
How are you?
Good morning, I am fantastic, and yourself?
Oh my gosh, I am happy to be alive. Let me tell you, it is, Joey and I are getting really good at putting together all this technology here with very little time. We were up, I promise you, this morning, the two of us were up at 3 a.m., no joke, because we're redesigning the entire studio to do a kids movie this week, and we're very excited for it.
Oh, that's going to be amazing, I can already tell. But...
So no excuses. We apologize for starting late here, though. So how are you, really?
Genuinely, everything's lifting up, and I mean, the sun's shining, so I have no complaints. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be alive. So.
Yeah, good. And so you've got an interesting story and connection to the studio, which I'm excited to get to. But you've been making videos, it says here, since you were 8. Is that right?
Yes. Started off using my dad's Logitech webcam from, I don't know, God knows when, probably like 2004. And there was just like short little skits where it's like, give me your money. And I was like, oh no. But I mean, it's progressed from there, but it's always been something we've been interested in.
So when you were first using the Logitech webcam, were you already going up online with your videos, or were you just like saving these for yourself?
The first couple, I was definitely like, no, I don't want to post these. And then my friend came over and was like, we should totally start a YouTube channel. And we were probably like around 8, 10 at the time. And my dad completely shut that down. He was like, you don't know strangers on the internet, and you don't know what they can do with this. And then from there, he kind of saw that I wasn't going to give up on making videos, and he was like, oh, well, I'm just gonna let you do it, but be safe. And from there, it's just progressed, and he's constantly like, look at my daughter.
So do you have some of those really early videos still up?
Not up, because, well, I don't delete them because I feel like that's kind of a bad luck charm if I delete them, but they're definitely archived.
Yeah.
So
one of these days you'll have to start releasing some of the archive footage just for fun,
yes.
you know. It would be good for you to maybe even do a video where you release some archive footage but talk about the growth and talk about progression for kids to help them out with that that idea and their confidence and getting started and whatnot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I went from like really bad jump cuts where I'd cut off half of my sentence and like didn't know anything about color balancing, but I had my angles. I've always kept my angles.
So were you modeling after a certain YouTuber that you liked? Were you a Jenna Marbles fan or something? Where you're trying to do the jump cut? Definitely
a Jenna Marbles fan. It was almost like Jenna Marbles and Miranda Sings had a kid. So
yeah. That's funny. I talked about Miranda Sings actually in the book that I wrote, that Acting Is My Day Job, because I really appreciate her story. You know, I mean, she started that character. Do you know her story?
I kind of like a basis.
Yeah. So she was just going to college, and she was sort of annoyed with some of the people she went to school with, who she thought were a little entitled, I guess. And so she created this character sort of as an outlet to sort of, I don't know, just kind of bring attention to who these people were. And then it just became a thing, and she started making videos. And so she's got very humble beginnings, and now she's doing some really amazing things.
Oh, for sure. Sure. It's definitely the business model I'm going for. So.
Yeah, good. So before I move on, what are we holding in our hands here?
Oh, this is Guacardo. Sorry. He's like, I need something to do with my hands. But he's this avocado made by this Snapchat company, and he's got a little butt too.
Okay. So he's an avocado.
Yeah, he's just, I don't even know where he's looking half the time. I couldn't tell you, but he's definitely one of my favorites.
Now, is this a Snapchat company that has done some endorsements with you or anything?
Oh, no, not at all.
You
wish,
you just appreciate their stuff.
Oh yeah, he's a cute little avocado.
Well, should we acknowledge the company and give them a little love, even though they're not paying for it?
Yeah. So the Snapchat company is called Me Too. It is I believe it is a very proud, withstanding Hispanic self-grown company that kind of ventured out from BuzzFeed, from what I've heard. But they're very cool. They even like put him in like music videos and stuff. So he's super. I love him. I love anything with food with eyes. I'm a sucker for.
I'll have to remember that when I want to give you a gift. Food with eyes. All right, so you've got an interesting story now, because I don't believe we met you until the quarantine, right? So you were introduced to us as a student online. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so tell me your experience coming in and what it was like to come into our studio, I guess virtually, because you've never even seen us in person or seen the actual space itself.
Right. So you guys were my push. I've been saving up for this class and I've been looking into the classes. You guys were definitely my push to kind of like solidify that this is it. Like, I've planted the seed, it's time for it to grow. With that being said, I was like, oh my God, freaking out. I was like, finally paid for it, but like, I've never been in an acting class before. And like, on top of it, it's online. What if I do something wrong? But at the same time, it was like, well, if bad comes to worse, I just close the laptop and pretend like nothing ever happened. But I mean, I've been through, auditions. I've been through like auditions for dance and, having to remember 8 counts and stuff, and feeling that atmosphere of not knowing the people around you and trying to read the room. But the first class that I took, and Shay was in there, and everybody was just so welcoming and warm. It was almost like I was sitting in the same room with everyone, and there wasn't an ounce of stress. Everything seemed super chillaxed. Nobody had that like, I'm superior than you, like you don't know what you're doing, like I am a professional and you mean nothing. It was genuine fun. And then you guys came on and I was like, oh my god, like it's starting, it's happening. And then by the end of it, we're all saying bye to each other, and there's just so much love and so much good energy in the room that I was like, I came out of the room and I literally cried to my boyfriend. I was like, that was so cool. I was like, you should, I was like pulling him in. I was like, you should try this. And super introverted, he won't do it. But it opened up my hunger for acting more than I ever knew that I had. Because since I was 8, been grinding this and been doing this, but something inside of me when I go to these classes, just, it brings out the best in me. So definitely grateful.
Awesome. Well, wow. And I want to tell you that we pretty much cried when you got off the class too, because you were one of the first of our new online format that we just had to figure out. So for us, we've been actually working on this for a couple of years, and then we just had to fast forward everything and go, all right, well, it's go time. Like, we're just doing this thing. Wow. So now our big struggle is we're working through the challenges of having an in-person class combined with a virtual class. Because now we have students from, I don't know if you know this or not, but we have 2 students in Nigeria now who take the class. We've got some people from Colorado and like around the nation. So now it's like, we don't want to leave these people hanging. We feel a responsibility, like this community is building. So like, we have a responsibility to figure this thing out. So that's our next big challenge. But when you got off and we were like, man, this worked, somebody signed up for the class, enjoyed it, connected, and like, because my whole thing was, I didn't want to just do another Zoom lesson, like that's what everybody was doing. Now we use that technology, we're grateful for it, but I was like, we got to find a way to create the vibe and the experience that people have when they come, because that's the difference at our studio. And so how do we do it virtually? And we kept beating our heads against a brick wall for a long time, but eventually it came down to this finding a way to make it into a live production. So basically you feel famous, because we want people to feel famous when they walk in our studio, like the Cheers idea, like everybody knows your name and you're already loved and everybody's welcome and like that type of feel. So like we needed to figure out how to do that virtually, you know? So it means a lot to me that was your experience, and with your successes you've had. I mean, I can tell you that we very much respect who you are and where you've come from. So that's really cool too.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, definitely, I was like, something good is going to come out of the new age of everything that's going on right now. And definitely, I mean, I've been preaching to the choir about, I mean, everybody that I have on my Snapchat, on my TikTok, and there's just a whole bunch of young people that don't know where to start. And, you know, the parents have that stigma. It's like, oh, well, like, you're not going to become a star overnight. And like, this makes zero sense. And some of them have tuned into the improv classes and they had a blast watching us. They're like, I need more of this. So
yeah,
you guys are definitely opening up eyes of parents, eyes of young kids that really want to do this, but don't have like the transportation or just don't have the time to go to Timbuktu because they're from Iowa and like drive 2 hours and go back. So it's definitely opening up eyes for a lot of people.
Well, thank you. That's awesome. So speaking of TikTok, you hit a pretty big milestone recently. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I hit a pretty big milestone when I woke up this morning again.
Talk to me about it.
So I never expected to, since I was little, it was always the mind of, I'm going to be a YouTuber. I'm going to have YouTuber meet and greets. Like, I'm going to meet all these big YouTubers. I'm just going to be a YouTuber. That's what it's going to be. I'm going to make skits for the rest of my life and have a nice house to make skits in. And then I realized how burnt out I would become. So I joined TikTok, and TikTok takes less time. You can still put in the same amount of effort, but you have to take those ideas and cram them into 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So it really gives you that mindset of what's important and what's not. So, I mean, I started building an audience on here. One day I went from 500 followers overnight to 2,000, and now I hit 6,000. I was like, oh my God, that's so amazing. And then I woke up this morning to 8,000.
What?
And it's like, I know. And it's, every time I wake up, it feels like Christmas. Like, I set my phone down after a good video and I'm like, I'm going to wake up to like more people. This is so exciting. But yeah, truly, truly grateful. I mean, it almost feels like I'm already living my dream already. So
I really love what you just said about content, and I want to ask you about that, your opinion on it, because I've got a very strong opinion when it comes to content. So when you're like, what advice would you give? I mean, I'd say you're an up and comer. You know, this is what you're gonna do. You are doing it. You know, you've got a lot of room to grow. But like, but we can just say, from time in the game, you've seen some success, and so you, like, what advice would you give to somebody who is trying to get into, and we can go both, like YouTube and TikTok, but we'll start with TikTok. What advice would you give when it comes to content?
For the longest time, my stigma around any of my content was, you would have to fight me tooth and nail if you thought I was going to do a trend. I was not going to do it. I was going to do it my own way. I wasn't going to fall into the feed of trends, but I realized that doesn't work all the time. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I can take this trend and I'll put my spin on it and I'll do it from there. So, I mean, there's thousands of trends coming out each day on that app. I mean, there's one that one of my posts did really well with, where it's like, you pretend to be a Guitar Hero character, and that took me about 5 minutes. I did like a cool little spinny flip with a guitar, and that put me at like 31,000 views.
Wow.
So it's definitely, you have to bite your tongue with a lot of things on TikTok, especially going overboard with content. Because I mean, with YouTube, I'd have Final Cut Pro, like I'd have effects and stuff. TikTok already has that for you. So it's more of like cut and dry and knowing your audience. So TikTok is definitely, like, there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons to it. A lot of people can literally sit there and just be attractive and like wink at the camera, and that's 1 million followers. I mean, and it's like the same with like dog videos. Dog videos get you everywhere. It's almost like what we saw in the beginning of YouTube. So those viral videos that made 0 sense,
Yeah.
or people who started to create the foundations like makeup tutorials or like story times or readovers. It's the same thing happening with TikTok. So it's definitely a weirder but easier environment. It's just you gotta play into the trends.
Yeah. So it's probably just even learning what's going on now, but being willing to adapt in the future, because like you said, you're seeing some of the similar trends you saw in YouTube from a while back, which means probably some of that will turn over eventually, because then it's like you doing a trend will just become noise, and you'd be like everybody
Right.
else jumping on the thing. So interesting. So my big take with content is authenticity. I believe so that's why I actually resonate with your trend idea.
Yes.
Because that was sort of my thought too, is I'm like, you got to be authentic, you got to be you got to be real. Having said that, I don't mind the trend idea as long as you put your own spin on it, but it's got to be like, don't just copy somebody else.
Exactly.
Like, you can take a good idea, but then you've got to find some way to bring your originality into it, and then be real, So like also a video where you pretend like something happened but it didn't would bother me, unless it's clear that it's a sketch.
Right.
Right? Does that make sense?
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the people on this app, and you grow like crazy, and a majority of it is like kids, and kids are impressionable. So a lot of times people get to feed into that, and that's something that I'd never stand by. I hate clickbait. I hate leading people into lies and having a false perception of me. I just like being real. And then obviously if it's a skit, I let people know beforehand. I let them know in the comments. I let them know in the description. But I completely 100% agree with you, because that ends up nipping you in the bud. Like, it comes back and it comes out that was fake, and then you lose all your followers, and then they can't trust you anymore.
Sure, yeah.
So just really quick, because you understand TikTok so well, from your opinion, what should/could we do on the Deering TikTok that would be interesting?
That's a good question, because you know what we run into is we're a business, right? And so we will be disclosing that, of course. So we were, my vibe is very along the Tony Robbins, Gary V-ish vibe, right? So but I love doing funny things too. So I wouldn't mind doing funny sketches, or just like inspirational, quick 15-second inspirational moments, right? But we've struggled with that. Like, where do we fit in this space, so that we can be reaching the kids, but doing so in such a way that is authentic to us? So that's a great question, Joey. Thank you.
Of course.
No, that's a really good question. And I think that kind of loops back to what I was saying last night. As I was gaining these followers, because I made a TikTok last night, and as I was making it, I mean, I've been praying on it, manifesting. There's this trend coming out where you manifest during a video, and you talk about your goals and dreams, and it blows up like crazy. And this one, while I was making it, and I was like, okay, well, how can I make this as touching as possible? And something just came over me, and I was like, no, I'm just going to do this and be as real as possible in it and manifest. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to become an actress. I was getting set up and everything. And I kid you not, as I was making the video, I got a notification on my phone for a callback. And I caught that on camera.
That's cool.
I was like, oh my God, like, that's gold. Like, I didn't even need to try to do anything. So then all these people came in, they're like, I have no idea where to start with acting. I have the same goals. I have the same dreams as you, but nobody tells me that I can make it in my family, or nobody gives me that time of day to tell me where to start or where to grow. So I think there's a lot of potential on TikTok. There's a lot of unseen potential, and there's a lot of people wanting to get into our business, but they don't really know where to start. So if you guys became a hub like you guys did for me with your online classes, if you became a hub for people to get their start and get their foundations and stuff, and then I definitely can agree, there's some people in the comments that I think would be more than happy to take your online classes. They just need to know where to begin, because they're at that same place that I was, where you're like, okay, I want to get into acting, but I know those things on the radios for like Disney Star and Nickelodeon Star at the mall. It's not real.
Right.
And I had to do this journey.
And then those things end up proving their parents correct, or proving the naysayers right, because they go down this path where they're like, oh, and they try to go for the easy fix.
Right.
And so then everyone who said that you can't do it and it's this not a real career path, you end up proving them right by trying to take the easy route.
Exactly. And I think I think people honestly think it's like how it was in like the 80s and 90s. Like you show up to a place, they give you a script. It's like all open calls. I was explaining like Actors Access to them last night, and like a couple of apps, and a lot of them don't even know how to audition. A lot of them don't know like what a slate is. A lot of them don't know what a callback is. They're like, I'm happy for you. So you work for Marvel now, right? Like, you want the callback? And I was like, no, not yet. But and it was really cute to help these kids who are genuinely wanting to do this, but I don't have enough information to give them where to start, because as we all know, acting doesn't have a set path. Like, you can be picked up by somebody overnight. Like the Russo brothers could be walking down the street and they could see me and they're like, hey kid, like come follow us. And that's probably not the best thing to do unless you know like the directors and stuff.
Yeah.
But then I was telling them that there's other like older actors that like have been grinding this out for years and years, and they finally get their break. So I think they just need that hub and that push for somebody to tell them that it's okay to pursue your dreams, that acting is a reality and it can come true.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And I think that's a great space for us to live in, Joey, because that's pretty much what our lives have been dedicated to, is that exact thing, and trying to offset those scammy agencies. And the perception of acting has been something that we've been fighting for a decade, because there's so much bad out there and people tend to find it because they're louder. And then we have to, we run into people sometimes who are already scorned, have already lost a bunch of money, are already, just like second guessing themselves because of experiences. And then we have to kind of undo some of that damage before we can get started with somebody. So that's really cool. Really good advice. What about questions for me? What do you got for me?
So I wanted to ask you, because as I think quarantine kind of solidified hitting the nail in the head with social media and how it becomes like almost a platform for discovering people, do you feel like that has helped our industry in a way, or do you feel like that's hurt it?
Both, 100%. Everything has a positive, negative. So there's good and evil that comes from everything. So the social media is just as addicting, perhaps more addicting than something like gambling or video games or television or whatever. So we've got to be very careful with how we're using it, and then understanding that if you're using it though in the right way and you're finding the balance. So for us, like, we've got a very specific goal. I want to positively impact 10 million people in 1 year. That's the current set goal. It's like, so I need social media to do that. I need video to do that. I have to expand beyond our state, beyond our country, in order to make that a reality. And so therefore, I'm very grateful for the platforms. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to get to reach people at a massive level. So then you take that and you go, all right, for every platform I'm on, every social platform, A, I've got to keep up with it. And then B, I've got to sort of understand each audience and where they come from and why. And then really just understand exactly kind of what you're saying, that it's all part of your overall picture. So what's interesting is you may take off on TikTok, but that may be your just an advertising channel only for you. Right. That is you donating your time. You never get paid for it ever. And even if you get to a monetization state, you may choose not to because it doesn't make sense. But that audience, you could pull them back over to your YouTube. And so you could be using Instagram and different apps in order to pull people over to YouTube. So I don't know, are you on the other channels as well? Like, do you have an Instagram and Facebook, or no?
So my Facebook is more, I don't advertise on Facebook. That's definitely like my virtual postcards to my family. It's like, happy birthday, Auntie. My Instagram, I'm definitely trying to build that up as well. It's just trying to cultivate one space, because I totally forgot that I had my Instagram and my TikTok bio, and it just kind of feeds over overnight. So Instagram has definitely become more of my space to advertise towards TikTok, since that's the main part of where my algorithm is. And the same kind of goes for YouTube. I kind of took a break because my last project that I did, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the character, but it's Ironheart. It's like Tony Stark's protege. I did a mini project for that, and it took off, but I'm kind of scared to do those projects now, just investing so much time into editing. And I mean, I did like I got like I did a burner account so I could get like Adobe Premiere Pro and like all of like the rendering stuff, just so I could have time to do it. And I literally just sat on my computer for 3 days and burnt myself out editing and polishing these. And the payoff was good, but the amount of time and payoff that I'm getting between each app is dramatically different. So, yeah.
So what are you thinking then?
So I definitely want to, the one that's building me up the most, the one that I'm seeing more of a reception on, is TikTok. And that's the easiest to get the word out. I mean, right now, while we were getting everything set up, I was like, hey guys, I'm going live, check this out. And then immediately can work on that, go back to Instagram, do that, go to YouTube, see what's going on there. And then from there was people last night saying like, oh, like what happened to your YouTube channel? Like, do you want to like make some like Q&As and stuff about acting? And I was like, yeah, definitely can do that. So I think as I pull my audience in and I get people to listen, I can start laying the foundation for my YouTube channel again. So I'll have a receptive audience.
Okay, cool. I think that's a good idea. You got something?
Yeah, I was just thinking that maybe you could share the idea of squeezing the orange with her.
Oh,
like
yeah.
What you were telling me.
Yeah. So I have this concept, and I've taught it to Joey and some of the other people that work underneath Joey. We've talked about this concept I call squeezing the orange. So what you can do, so you can take that big project you did on YouTube, right? And you're like, all right, this took me 3 days and it was like all this effort and whatnot. Well, you take that and then you cut from there. So that's your big orange. Okay. So I take the orange and I go, all right, with very little extra effort, I can take that orange and add a couple pieces to it, and then use a lot of the same information and put it up on Facebook. But that version is going to be reaching parents. So that version is going to be like, hey, it's okay to do X, right? That reaches the parents. Then I take the same orange and I squeeze it in a different direction and I get my Instagram video. And then I squeeze it in a different direction and I get like 5-6 different TikToks.
Okay.
So now you take your content and you have to make sure they're unique, but then you have all this content, and with now that you've done the hard thing first, then you can kind of squeeze it out into little things, and you get like a flow, and you get a bigger payoff for the same amount of initial effort.
No, that definitely makes sense, because I think I just run into that thing with YouTube where it's like, the algorithm is so weird. So I've never had one of my videos like blow up on YouTube until that Ironheart one came out. And I mean, it's hard to just get videos on YouTube. The algorithm's pretty broken over there. So I think a part of me was trying to like give up, and it was like, it's taking too much of your time.
I'm going to encourage you, don't do that. Don't do that. You've had a dream to be a YouTuber. I think you're going to be a YouTuber, and all these other things are going to help you. And that's why my next piece of advice for you was going to be be very specific, like you're being with each piece of content, but you need to strategize now. Write it down, because you're going to need the different platforms for different reasons. Like Facebook, I know like it sounds like a dinosaur. You have to have Facebook. And truthfully, we let go of Facebook for like 2 years. We just picked it back up, and we've grown like 1,000 in like a month or so, but it's tiny. Like our Facebook is tiny. The followers are tiny. You know, we get the most business from Facebook.
Oh, wow.
Because that's where the buyers are. So the kids' parents are over there.
Right.
So if we reach people in this degree, and then they're like, hey, mom, they're thinking about acting, then mom's going, oh, like who's out there that's legit, right?
Right.
So there's this idea of, for instance, somebody on Facebook might find you there and then hire you for TikTok. Because the decision makers in these big companies who might sponsor you on a different platform are going to be over on Facebook.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever thought, you know what? You're going to make me say that my dad's right, because he's definitely told me, he's like, get on Facebook with your stuff. And I was like, you don't know anything, old man.
Yeah, the old man knows what he's talking about. And the thing is, like, you got to do it for, like, it goes back to the beginning. Everything's got its own purpose. But when you go onto Facebook, you're there for a very specific reason. And if everything's connected to, like, what's your mission? Do you have one, right?
Yes, it's to eventually work for Marvel. Like, I want to be an actress. I want to be.
Yeah, but why? So why though? What's your mission? Like why must you do this?
It stems from when I was little. I didn't have anybody who looked like me on the screen. I didn't have any positive people in my life that I could relate myself to. So I want to be that for my generation and the generation behind me. And I want my success story to be, I want to break that stigma. I want to be like, I can push and I can do this, just as my sister wants to be an Olympic volleyball star. How come that's realistic for her? And, you know, people will not blink and hesitate to support that. But then when it comes to arts, you get side-eyed. I don't want that anymore. I want that to be the same thing as when somebody tells you they're going to be a doctor. I want it to be as normalized as being a doctor, as going into being a firefighter. I want there to be no stigma around acting.
I love that. And I believe the same it should be true when it comes to dance and when it comes to painting or drawing or whatever. Like, all of those things are legitimate careers, and people have legitimate careers that are, you know, scale up and down in pay. But so many people just say, well, get a real job, you know, and that's not realistic. But what is realistic is, okay, treat that thing like a real job.
Right.
Or else it never will be one. You know, like, that's my big message I try to get out to people is, you can do this. It's just a lot of work, you know, and sometimes I'll admit the things that are really fun, I think usually have a little bit of upfront tax involved. You got to pay a little bit more upfront in order to do the thing you love. But if you're willing to put in that effort that other people aren't willing to do, then you'll find your way through the mud and you get to get on the other side of that thing.
Exactly.
So yeah, get on Facebook. The guy, old geezers like your dad are going to hire you over there, and they're the ones with the dough.
Yeah, most definitely. I don't know why I never can wrap my brain around Facebook being such a place for advertisement. But I mean, my friend's small business that she does, and I wish I could remember the name, but she started making like small chocolate strawberries. Yeah. And like, everybody ate it up on Facebook. They're like, oh, and you deliver? Say no more. Yeah. And she blew up overnight. And like, I definitely am so proud of her, but definitely will have to get on Facebook to explore all of my means of social media.
It's just another way to expand your reach and that overall audience. You have to understand, eventually some of the people who are following you on TikTok, a different member of their family will follow you on Facebook, and they won't even know that they're both fans of you.
Oh, wow.
You know, so then when those two things merge together, your brand is lifted because you're not just one thing. You're becoming something that can reach a more massive audience. You remind me a lot of one of our students. Do you know Sophia Wiley?
I was just thinking that.
You remind me a lot of her. Yeah.
Aw, that's that's such a good compliment.
She was
well,
so she was already famous before she met us, and then she came and we did some training for a couple years together, and she just has a good head on her shoulders, and you have the same type of thought process she does, and it's interesting because there's a work ethic thing, and her dad is really, really good with helping her like manage her career and manage the different like channels and whatnot, and keep her faith in the front of her career. So we believe she's going to be, I mean, she already is a megastar, but you know, my whole goal with her was to transition her out of Disney and into other things, because we didn't want her to get stuck there. You know, that was kind of our big goal. So, so just know like your why now, what's connecting you is that idea of, I didn't see people like me on TV, so I want to pave the way. I'm like passionate about this. That's why I have to get there, you know. That's beautiful. And really, then it doesn't matter if Marvel actually hires you. It doesn't, because you're already making Marvel stuff. You're already doing the thing you said you were going to do. So that goal is a really good one that can be achieved, that you're doing, putting in your own hands. Then like if and when Marvel actually hires you, it's just gravy. You know, that's just a bonus, but that doesn't define your success or not. Whether what your success comes from, did you inspire other people to go down this path and to think that, yeah, I can do this, and hey, people who look like me can make it, you know? And then be honest with people. Like, that's the other thing. I think someone like you who's seeing success has a responsibility to be very honest about the work.
Oh, for sure. Because I mean, that's one thing. When I got started, people made it seem so easy. They made it seem like, oh yeah, I just walked into this audition and then I got it. And I mean, that is the case sometimes, but people don't know. For the longest, I was like, I don't need an agent. Like, I can do this by myself. But that's far from the truth.
Of course, you need an agent, and people who say they don't need one, that's because they can't get one, probably. You know, yeah. So you're at a place where you've done a lot of work, but you work on a lot of things. Clearly, like your skin tone looks good, and like you work on you, because if you're not bettering you, you're not going to be of value to the world.
Right.
You know, and so that should be the message too, is like, to be an actor, it's this, I believe it's this huge responsibility that we have, because we have the opportunity to bring light into the world.
Right.
You know, I mean, think about every Marvel movie. Every single one somehow relates to faith and a higher power and morality, and you know, like there's a reason people are drawn to these movies and drawn to Star Wars and the light versus the dark. You know, like it's in us. You know, I mean, it's a very visceral part of who we are, and so you have an you know, this powerful mission. Like, it's a guarantee you're gonna make it. You know, you're already making it, but it's a guarantee, because you just like, there's no other option for you.
Oh, I mean, I was telling people that last night, and it's a weird transition to go from, yeah, I'm thinking about doing it, to no, like, I am.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, what if? And I'm like, it's not what if. It's not if it doesn't happen. It's going to happen. You can't think like that, especially in a business like this, and give yourself doubts. Because I mean, obviously there's going to be some in the back of my head, but if I make that the forefront, then I'm blind. I can't move. I can't progress.
Absolutely. I told I've shown our team, and I've talked about it a little bit on the show, just because it came up, the idea of when we first started the studio, there was no other option. Like, this is what we're doing. Having said that, I had 3 jobs for the first 2.5 years. Wow. The studio made negative money. I showed them my tax returns. I'm like, we were negative for 2.5 years. And the negative came from me paying everyone else. So I paid people that worked for me. I didn't get paid. As a matter of fact, I was in the negative, and I'm working 3 other jobs because this thing was gonna happen. I mean, it's gonna happen. But honestly, I hadn't earned dropping the other jobs yet. Right. No big deal. Like, literally, like, that didn't faze me, because quitting was never an option. Failing, no problem, but quitting, that ain't gonna happen.
I will have as many setbacks as need be, but I believe those setbacks get you to where you are, because my boyfriend sat me down one day when something happened, and I just completely like had a meltdown, and was like, I can't do this anymore. He goes, in this moment right now, if you were to get picked up by any big company, do you think you would be ready? And that pushed me back. And I was like, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to take the pressure. I wouldn't be able to build it up. And then came back to me and asked me this a couple of months later when something else happened, and was like, how do you feel now? And each time that I get a setback, each time something doesn't work, each time I work hard on something and I get mad that a 2-minute video blows up before like a day long idea does, it gets easier to just kind of knock that. I mean, the same with negative comments. I'm like, one negative comment out of thousands or hundreds of people telling me that they believe in my dream isn't going to affect me.
Right.
I have to let it go. And I'm like constantly thinking like, well, maybe they're right. And it's like, but they're not, because that's one voice. That's one voice out of a whole bunch of people who support your mission.
So my wife does YouTube videos. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. She's got a comedy group. It's Leanne and Michelle, and she's doing pretty darn well with that. And they blew up on Facebook first, interestingly. But she's now, because I had to talk her through some things early on. She did like some Super Bowl commercials and different things early on in her career. Wow. And so she would get some negative comments, that would come through. And now she'll tell me that if they don't get negative comments, that the video didn't do any good.
Right.
If there's not negative comments, then that means the video was a fail because it didn't reach enough people, because there's just like, talk about like, let's just take a negative algorithm of sorts. If you hit 100,000 people, you're going to get 100 people out of the 100,000 that are just sort of jerks that just like troll you and want to like make you feel bad, right? So that if you don't have negative comments, that means you didn't make it to the 100,000 mark, which means, the video's a fail. Right. And so by flipping the mindset that way, that's how you can take the negative comments. Is you can literally look for one and go like, yes, like that means the video hit a certain level where at least I'm getting some hate,
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, I don't think I've ever thought about it like that.
And I want you to use Leanne as your inspiration right now, because she's trying to find her way here. But they blew up on Facebook. Okay. She's mom demographic, very, very beautiful, funny girl. And they killed it there. She just joined TikTok. She feels like a duck out of water, And so, but she's doing it because it's like, she wants to expand that audience, and now understands that eventually the kids, like her whole thing, like I had this idea for her. I was like, you still gotta find a way to reach the kids, because yes, there's moms on there, but not very many. So you gotta find a way to reach the kids. So I was like, I thought it'd be a funny character if she hit like the trends, but hit them like 3 weeks late. And then like pretended like she just found a new trend and like she was doing it, but it was like done, like over with. I thought that'd be funny, but anyway, the idea is just like find your way, figure out how do you fit into this niche so that would help expand your audience.
Okay.
All right, you got a couple more or maybe one more question, right? What do we have here?
I feel like I did.
Okay, yeah, we already dealt with how do we check negative comments. My opinion about social media becoming the new scouting zone. What do you mean by that?
So I'm sure you know who Charli D'Amelio is. You don't?
No.
Okay, so it's almost like we can take it as like a Jenna Marbles success story for TikTok. She started off making these 15-second dance videos. She has now escalated her family as well. Her sister acts now. They like plucked her out of nowhere, like completely plucked her, and she's off and acting. Charli was dancing with J-Lo in the Super Bowl, I believe. She has a whole bunch of endorsements. The platform is basically hers. And it's the same with these other kids on TikTok. They're getting verified, but they're also getting like these brand deals, and they're also getting scouted from these apps. And that makes me think, is it really, I don't know. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, what can I bring to an audition that is being brought in social media? Like, where's the difference in what's what's that connect that we're missing? Because I mean, it could be to a point in a day and age where people are scouting people on TikTok, but they're also pulling auditions, and that person on TikTok doesn't even have the script in their hand, not even doing anything. They're like, that's what I want. So
okay, so I don't think there's as much of that. I mean, it could be a little bit. The people who do that, I believe, they have some other talents. Like they have things that they've worked and developed usually. So I'm not sure about this person that you're talking about, but I imagine she's a pretty good dancer.
Yes.
Okay, so that means she's put in the time and the effort and the skill to become excellent at something, and then this became an avenue. And did she hit right time, whatever? Yeah, like because there's other talented, pretty dancers, and so she happened to be the one that got plucked. Okay, cool. That's a one in a million chance, and she's the one. Awesome. Now, why are they going to pluck people out of social media? This is Sophia Wiley had a very similar story. She didn't really take many acting lessons before she kind of moved into where she got into Andy Mack. I think it was her first big show, but she was an excellent dancer and had confidence and had a certain charisma about her, and so there was something she brought to the table. Having said that, why does Disney want her? Because they want to make money off of her. Right. It's a business, period. This is the show business. Right. So if they're grabbing somebody off of TikTok or any other platform, why? Because they want to make money off of that person. So they're gonna take you, use you, abuse you until they're done with you, and then they're gonna spit you out. So that's why the idea of not being ready is so important. You don't want to blow up before you're ready to blow up, because if you don't have the work ethic in place, if you don't have the growth pattern in place, then something will happen. You'll think you're better than you are. You'll start to believe the things that people are telling you, and then before you know it, your talent or lack of talent will be exposed, and there's nowhere else to go. Or you'll realize, hey, I got this endorsement, cool, but it doesn't change anything actually. Right. Because the endorsement comes, the endorsement goes. You make money, and then you spend the money, and then it's like you're still hollow. The only way to really feel good is through progression. Right. So I wouldn't let yourself get hung up on those, like those are outlier circumstances when people get plucked like that. Now, having said that, I do think it's part of the algorithm, right? So if I were to hire an actress your age, and you and somebody else both auditioned for me, and I liked both of you equally, and I thought you both had equal talent, and you brought the same intangibles, then if I check your social media channels and you've got 10,000 followers and the other girl's got 1,000, I'm gonna pick you because you're gonna be better for my business. Because if I put you in my show, at least I've got 10,000 people that might watch it, versus this other girl doesn't.
Oh, that just blew up a huge light bulb in my head. That totally, a lot of that makes sense now.
But then it goes further, okay? Yeah. There's another step to this, which is, and people can find this stuff out. I mean, especially like the people who have real money, like they can probably tap into all your accounts. But there's this idea of, then how did you get your following? Because there's a way you can buy followers, there's a way you can do little contests and all. Like there's a way you can cheat the system, and then there's a way that you can organically build slowly and actually have an audience that is engaged with you. Because the engagement is actually more important than the number once you get there. Right. So that's why I was saying, like when I was neglecting Facebook, it was a big mistake, because now I'm like I do still now talk to that smaller audience who actually brings me more money than all the other ones combined. That's where people come that actually have money ready to spend. Right. It's not where I love to spend my time. Like I don't spend a lot of time there, but I don't neglect it anymore. So just understand that it's like, that is a part of the process for you. It's going to be a part of the whole thing. And if honestly, Marvel would do the same thing. If I was going to hire you versus another actress, and the other actress has 500,000 followers, 100,000 followers, and you're pretty much equal in talent and charisma and whatnot, the other girl's going to get the job.
For sure.
So what do you have to do? You got to raise your talent level too. You have to be so talented. You have to be so good that the numbers become irrelevant. And they look at you and they look at the girl who's got 500,000 followers and they're like, but she's just better. Like, I can't not have her in the movie because she's just better. Then you do that, and then the followers come. So, and like you said, there's no direct path. So however you get there is cool. But nothing changes the fact that it is all about the work always. It's always about the progression. And are you getting better today than you were yesterday?
Woo! Yeah. No, that I preach that all the time. I was like, you can be like, you could have 1 million followers, but if you aren't putting time into your craft, then that means nothing at the end of the day.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. You are impacting some people on a big level, and we sure appreciate you around here. Are you going to be able to join us in person one of these days?
Oh, yeah. As soon as I was meaning to message you guys back, but I'm ready to go in person.
Oh, like, good. Well, June, second week of June, we're back. So that's like a week from now. Yay.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Woo!
You guys are the only thing, like, Brian goes out to the store for me and he gets all the groceries. You guys, I don't even go to work. I work from home.
Speaking of Brian, by the way, I forgot to give you this opportunity. He's a pretty good dude, huh? Is that your boyfriend?
Oh yeah, I thought you were talking about your Brian.
No, I'm talking about your Brian. I could tell by the way you were talking about him and the way that he questioned you. And I mean, he's a pretty good dude, huh?
Oh, he is the reason why I'm pushing and doing this. I mean, he's watched me from the ground up kind of be back and forth on the fence about this. And one day he snapped at me because I was like, what if I'm not good enough? And he was like, shut up. Like, shut up. I'm so tired of hearing you say this. And I'm looking at him and I'm like sniffling. There's like snot running down my face and I'm crying. And I'm like, well, I just failed. What do you mean shut up? And he was like, well, that's a part of it. You think like your favorite actors got the job that they wanted immediately? They didn't. And he is such a guy. He's so supportive. Anything that I need. I mean, he worked at Best Buy and the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, I get a discount. Do you need a new tripod? Do you need a new camera? Like just let's work together. Like anything that I need, he does. And it's truly a blessing. I
love that. And you've surrounded yourself with somebody who's going to hold a mirror to your face, who's going to be honest with you, and who's going to fight for you when you're trying to beat yourself up. And that's huge. Yeah. I tell my wife this all the time. So I'll leave you with this, but I tell her, like, we're gonna go to blows. Like, we're gonna fight when you're beating you up. That's the only time, because I told her, I was like, nobody talks bad about my girl, and if that includes you. So you talk bad about you, we're gonna fight about it.
Oh. No, but no, I definitely appreciate that. I'm at the end of it all. When I go to bed, I'm in a state of bliss. I constantly thank God. Like, I go out on after this, I'm going to go out, I'm going to water my flowers, lay down my yoga mat and just pray and meditate. And it's just an overwhelming feeling. I'm trying not to cry right now because I don't want to be a baby, but it's just, life is so good when you know what's coming for you.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
The Holy Spirit's right there.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Thanks so much. Everybody, thank you so much for watching this morning, Mornings with Matt. We sure appreciate you. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel. Help us spread this light-driven message to the world. God bless.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com